array functions. So what are the various array functions and working with those array functions? Array manipulations. Yeah. Next, after understanding with the JavaScript array manipulations and configuring them, some examples how to deal. Next, we will implement this in example. We will create one example to implement and configure this. But before implementing into example, so we need to understand few more basic things. So few more options we need to know. So we discussed about what is an object type, what is an array type, how to deal with the array type. And next we need to understand one more in the data types, that is how do we deal with object type. In JavaScript is an object, and how do we deal with the object type in JavaScript, also important thing to understand. So in the non-primitive types, you have seen an array manipulations also. Object type, generally the purpose of object type is the main concept about object is used to keep all related together. That is the main intention of object. It is used to keep all related data and logic together. For example, I will show you one simple example here. So yeah, object. Here suppose we are configuring script function, and we are calling the function f1, and here I am declaring, so where name is equal to some Samsung TV, and where mobile from so TV, like this here, so TV, and some mobile is equal to so some LG mobile, and so we defined some where price is equal to 4,000. Suppose now one important point here is we have some data. Now the first question here is this price 45,044. This price belongs to which product? Is it TV or mobile? What do you say? It belongs to which product? Is it TV or mobile? It belongs to which product? What do you say? So we cannot exactly say about this because it doesn't have any relation with others. Am I right? It doesn't have any relation to others. It doesn't have any relation with others. So the key point is keep all related data together. Keep all the related data together. So, and all the related logic together. To keep all the related data and logic together, actually in computer programming, the concept of object was introduced in 1960s, in the early 1960s, by Alan Kay. He introduced the concept of object into computer programming. And the main purpose of object is to keep all related data together. Later, it became a foundation for the concept called OOP, Object-Oriented Programming. Object-oriented programming was developed by in the early 1967 by Johann Ole and Christian Nygaard. These two people introduced object-oriented programming by using the concept of object. So the founder of object is Alan Kay, and the founders of OOP are these two people. The first OOP language was Simula. Simula 67 is the first OOP language. After Simula, several other languages came. Generally, when we ask about OOP languages, many people know about C++. But before C++, we have so many OOP languages also. But point is, the concept of object, the main concept of object was introduced by Alan Kay. The intention is very simple. Keep all related data together. How we can keep related data together? We can better write like this. So where TV and is equal to keep all its related data together, we need to use a flower brace that represents as an object. Square brace is representing as an array, and this represents as an object. And object have properties. That means usually object comprises of object stores data in properties, and object defines logic defines logic with functions. That means object is collection of data and logic. Object is set of data and logic. And the data is stored in properties, and logic is defined in functions. Generally, how properties are defined? Name is a property, colon, what value you want to store inside it. You can store any type of value. Suppose Samsung TV. And comma, multiple properties are separated with comma, and price is equal to 34. Now this price belongs to TV. So now it is related. That means this price is related to this name. Similarly, you can store any type of value. Suppose quantity. So quantity is some 2. In stock is true, like this. In a property, you can store any type of data, some shipped to. Now important, it can have an array again. That means a property can be any type. It can be a number or a string or a boolean or an array, anything. So here I am defining shipped to, so I said Delhi, and shipped to some Hyderabad, like this. We are configuring. And this is all related data. You can have function also. Suppose total. Total is a function. Then you have to write by using the keyword function. And function contains some functionality. So what this total functionality has to do is, it should return quantity into price. It should return quantity into price. Then it should have some functionality. Functions are defined with this function type. So you can have any type of data. Data is in properties, logic is in function. And important is the members of object can be accessed within the object can be accessed within the object by using The members of object can be accessed within the object by using this keyword. And the members of object can be accessed outside object by using object name. That means object name and dot property, or object name dot method. That's how we need to configure the property or method, how we need to define. Technically, the members of an object can be accessed in this way, configured and accessed in this way, right? So usually this is function. Inside the function means inside the object, if you want to access these members, then we have to use keyword. That means this total function should return this dot quantity into this dot price. It should calculate and return. So inside an object, the members are accessible by using this keyword. They are accessed by using this keyword. Okay. Now here we want one more function, comma. There can be any number of functions and properties, but all are separated with comma. So there is print. Print is a function which should print all details. Then I will say document.write, and I want to print all the details. So then here we are defining name is equal to, so $. How do we access this dot name? Because you are accessing inside the object, and the price is equal to, and dollar this dot price, and we have a quantity is equal to dollar this dot quantity, and total is equal to dollar. We have to call the function called total. Total is a function which returns the total. Functions are accessed by using the parenthesis, right? In the next slide, we want to print the details like in stock is equal to, so dollar. Here we can write expression like if this dot in stock is equal to true, then it should print available. Otherwise it should print out of stock. Like this we can have some expression. In the next line, we want to print shipped to. Shipped to is an array, and we can just define this dot shipped to dot toString. It will return those elements. Now this is an object. Actually, in early JavaScript, means before JavaScript ES5, that means ES up to ES4, object is known as pseudo class. Why? Because JavaScript don't have a concept called class. So this object behaves like a class. That is the reason it is called pseudo class. But in the latest versions from ES, it also started using class concept. That is the reason here object is object now, class is class. Earlier people who were using JavaScript in older versions, they used to call this object as a class type, actually class, because it has a class-like architecture and class-like behavior. But genuinely it is not a class. So that is the reason. So JavaScript class concept later came, and we call class as class, object as object. But in early days, people used to call this as object as a class only because it has that behavior. And one more point is here,
मेडिसिन
it
खाएगा
is
ना
uh, it is having certain data. It is having certain data. That means if you want this object to be reusable, so that I can use for any kind of data. That is the main intention actually. We want it reusable. Then I will name it as product. Then I can access, so the product is defined, okay, and the name is empty, price is 0, quantity is 0, boolean is true or false. By default, you want whatever you want, false. So ship to is an empty array, That's how we write. Now, what is the advantage of this is, what is the main point? Why you return like this? Because all empty, because we can use this for a different type of data now. Of course, later also you can replace, but this is the best way to reuse that object. That means now what I can do is, suppose I want to print the details. Generally, what we do here is to print the details. We are configuring. This is product function. And inside that, we want to print the details. Then what we are doing is, first, we are creating. So we are accessing that product. That means I say document.write. Suppose I said TV details, and I will put a BR, so line break. We can just keep some heading because we can print all this content. Then we don't need any BR because heading will have a line break. Now here I need to access that object, product object. That means here we say product dot name is equal to, we can put some name here. So we can define some name. Product dot price is equal to, we can put some price here. And product dot quantity is equal to 2. And product dot, so shipped to, in stock is true. And product dot shipped to is an array. Into that we will pass some values. Pass some values, Delhi, Hyderabad, like this. Now after that we need to print it. Then product dot print. We need to print that. So product dot print. We are configuring it. Now that is done. That is defined and configured. So that is good. That means you have this product dot print and it is working fine. Right, that is working fine. Now the point is, in this approach, how we can manage and how do we deal with this? So right, in this approach, generally, another concept you will observe is, I can use this for some other details. That means I will put again document.write and I keep here heading. And I defined here some shoe details. And here I kept under, yeah, and we can add all these details again. This time we are defining, this is some shoe details, so night casuals. We added some price, and here it is shipped to some Chennai and Hyderabad. Now you can see that this is going to print those details and get the details here and display the details here. That means TV details, shoe details. We can reuse. We will design a proper UI. Currently, first we are understanding logic. Then we can put it in examples also. First we are learning what it is. Then we can implement in examples how to get the data, how we can manage the data and use it. So we can collect the data, we can reuse the data by using this object type. The main intention of object is to keep all your related data and logic together and allow reusability of that logic. So we can reuse with the different types of data. That is the main intention of using this object type. The main intention of using this object type. So that is technically object. And how do we deal with the objects? Deal with the objects. This is one example of working with object type. Object type. Yeah. Now, once you know about the object type, you have to know this is general example. So this is an example for that. Just I will copy this. Yeah. Now, once you know the concept of object, so actually one important term you have to know here is this. When you are working with any application, observe here. Suppose, so in real world, we have database. And in the database, we have a table. The table have details like, so the name, so like the price and all others details will be there. Now we are the developers. So we are the developers. We are developing an application. And this is our application, client side. This is client side we are doing. Now what happens is it needs a server side technology to communicate, and a lot of things are there. So better I will say that this is an application. Now developer have one important point is this database is designed. This database is designed according to business requirements. That means as per the business requirements, the database is created. The database is created according to business requirements. That means the client requirements, what client wants according to that. Now, generally, our developers have an habit, developers have an habit of writing to the database. That means generally developer have an habit of write to database. So for that, lot of communication is required between client server. They write to database. But now in the modern technologies, we are not writing to database, because writing to database is always risky. A lot of issues will be there technically. We cannot write to database in the current generation applications because a lot of requirements changes will be there. Means a lot of issues will be there. You will learn about them in while learning databases and other technologies when you are dealing. These days, what we ask our developers is, we ask them to write for business requirements, not database. Because you designed for database, you are writing for database, then a lot of issues will be there. Generally, suppose I will tell you one point, one general issue I will tell you. That means one general example I will tell you. Suppose we are creating a registration form. In the registration form, 20 fields are there. In the 20 fields, only 8 are mandatory. 8 are mandatory. Others are optional. That means 12 are optional. Now tell me, for how many fields we have to prepare a database table? database table must be prepared for how many fields? For registration form, for how many fields? 20. That means, but he is filling only 9. Another person is filling only 10. Another person is filling only 8. But in your database queries, you have to query all fields, na? Am I right? In your database queries, you have to query all fields. Don't you think that is wasting your time in reading the data? Don't you think it is a problem? Why you are reading all the fields if those fields are not being used for that particular user? Am I right? Right? It is a problem now. It is unnecessary to read all of them. I hope many of you know that generally, majority of you people, I think you learned while learning database. Do you know in real-time projects, we don't recommend to use select star from table. You know that? You learned about it. We don't recommend to use star in queries. Have you heard about that? Do you know that? In real world programming, 100 to 100% never use stars in querying data from database. Select star from table. That's completely wrong. What is the meaning of star? What is the meaning of star? Actually, meaning of star is not all. It is searching for all. That means it is a pattern. It is a regular expression, na? It is a regular expression, na? That means now the point is why you are searching for all. That means you are telling the compiler. So that means you are searching for all. You are telling the compiler to search. Why you are telling the compiler to search? Suppose if you give some name from table, it will directly go to name and access it. It will not waste time in searching. Am I right? Right. So that means the point here is sometimes you may have a question like, sir, hundreds of fields will be there, what to do? Hundreds of fields are there, right? You have to write hundreds of fields, but you should never use asterisk. That is completely unprofessional. To use stars in database queries is completely unprofessional in high level programming. So we never recommend that at all. So that means the point here is, so performance is the point issue. Now in this type of approach, when developer is writing for database, he writes for the database and he writes for so many things which are not necessary. There is a technique where developers can write for business requirements. What is advantage of business requirements is what is being used for that situation, only that will be accessed and handled. Business requirements advantage is what is used for that situation, only that is accessed. That looks good. Do you know this mechanism is called as ORM? Understood? ORM. Heard about it? ORM, object relational mapping. You heard about it anywhere? Object relational mapping. So if anyone asks what is ORM, that means it is writing for business requirement instead of writing for database directly. And if you are writing for business requirements, the objects that you are using are not data objects. They are called business objects. Data objects are the objects that directly communicates with the database. But business objects are the objects that communicate with the business requirements. And generally, JavaScript objects all are business objects only. JavaScript objects are all are business objects. Even though in the background, they will be communicating with the database only, but you are not directly writing for database. So you are writing for the business requirements. Understood? JavaScript is always writing for business requirements. That means these are representing the business, not the database directly. Understood, everyone? So it is writing for business. That is the reason we call these objects. JavaScript object is known as POJO, plain old JavaScript object, POJO, plain old JavaScript object. At very experienced level, suppose you show 5+ experience in interviews. If you show 5+ experience, then interviews, you can expect this question asked to you. Do you know anything about POJO? What is POJO in JavaScript? So these kind of questions are very rare for a learner, freshers, because that is too much. You can't ask this much in-depth question about concept from a fresher for a fresher. So majority people may not have an idea, but if he have an idea of that, that's great. That means he knows much about JavaScript. But it's good because POJO, if anyone asks what is POJO, that means it represents a JavaScript object that is interacting with the business requirements. That means it is an object that represents the business. In simple terms, it is an object that represents the business. Understood? Everyone got a clarity here? Right? So it is an object that represents the business. It is an object that represents the business. So that is why we call this as POJO, plain old JavaScript object, POJO. So that is one important point you need to know, that you are dealing with the JavaScript objects, POJO. And important is, if any data is maintained in this format, POJO format, that means data in POJO format, data in POJO mechanism. Data in POJO mechanism is known as JSON. Data in POJO mechanism is known as JSON, JavaScript object notation. JSON is JavaScript object notation. POJO is a mechanism and JSON is a format. You should have a clear clarity on that. POJO is a mechanism and JSON is a format of data. Now when you see this, will you call it POJO or JSON? When you see this object, will you call it POJO or JSON? Will you call it POJO or JSON? Obviously, you have to call it as JSON. Then what is POJO? This is JSON format data. Data is in the format of data. Then what is POJO? Tell me, what is POJO? What you understood about POJO? Tell me, what is POJO? POJO is a mechanism of what? Mechanism of what? It is a mechanism. Mechanism of what? It is a mechanism of. It is a mechanism of. It is a mechanism of representing the business requirements. Understood? Good. It is a mechanism of representing the business requirements. Understood, everyone? It is a mechanism of representing the business requirements. Got a clarity? Yeah? So POJO is a mechanism and JSON is a format of data. Now, if anyone asks like, what is the advantage of maintaining data in JSON? What is the advantage of maintaining data in JSON? The advantage of maintaining data in JSON can store your data offline. JSON can store your data offline so that you can access and use the data even when you are not connected with server. Previously, I told you about XML, JSON will be the formats, right? So data is stored offline so that you can use the data even when you are not connected. That means the lot of data that you see offline, so all comes from a JSON. Earlier, we have to use XML very much. Even now, XML is used. But now every application is now changing from XML to JSON. Another advantage is it is native to every browser. That means it is native to every browser. It can easily parsed by the browsers. Browser can easily understand JSON rather than XML. XML is also cross-platform. It is understandable to every operating system. But JSON is more better native to browser than XML. And very important is JSON type of data cannot be blocked by firewalls. That means it can pass through the firewalls. It cannot be blocked by the firewalls. Another important is JSON type data is completely virus free. It is not infected with virus. Earlier, so data, even now, even today also, in some occasions, data is maintained and transferred in a text format. If anybody asked you a question like, can you tell me how, where text formatted data is used for transportation? Who uses text formatted data for transportation? Then you should say who is responsible for transporting data in a text format. Then you should say that cookie. Cookie is an object. Cookie is also an object. Cookie object transports data, keeps your data in text format. Cookie is also an object, but it keeps your data in text format. Then problem is text formatted data can be blocked by firewall. Text formatted data can be blocked by browser. It can be infected with virus. That is the reason you observe these days when you open a website, they say that they take a permission from you. They say that this website needs cookies. Do you want to allow the cookies or not? Have you seen that alert every time? So every website these days, have you observed that? Why they seek permission? Why they seek permission for saving cookie? So why they seek permission for saving cookie? Because through internet, virus infection comes only through one medium, and that medium is cookie. If virus comes to your computer through internet, that only one reason, that is cookie, because of cookie. That is the reason. So cookies, early days, cookies are copied directly. But now modern browsers advantage is they are asking that do you want to allow cookies or not? That is very good. It's very safe browsing. Because if you allow cookies from unknown websites, if you refuse the cookies from unknown websites or allow them, if you allow, then you may get means it is not secured. You may get infected with virus. So if you don't allow, then only certain features are not working. Because remember, if cookies are not allowed, sign in registrations like options will not work, but others work. That means until or unless you are not using sign in and registration, you can use the website without cookies. Understood? You can use that website so without accepting cookies until or unless you are not using sign in options and register options. Once you want to sign in or register, 100% cookies must be enabled. So otherwise they cannot handle that. That is the reason generally there is a facility of handling them, because many times people ask this question. So cookie is also an object. Then what is the format of cookie? Cookie is a text file. Then why we don't use that cookies mostly for transporting data? Cookies also offline. Cookies also offline. You know, there is an option in your history. They will say that clear cookies. Have you observed that? For example, you opened Gmail, you logged into Gmail, you don't sign out from Gmail and close the browser. And next time you open browser and type Gmail, directly it will open your account. Am I right? Am I right? That means how those details, your login details are still available. But once clear the cookies and try, go to history, clear cookies and try Gmail again, it will ask to log in again. I hope everyone observed that. I hope everyone observed that. If you clean history, you have to log in again. Clean history means you clean the cookies also. Then you have to log in again. That means it completely depends on cookies. So that is not permanent also. Cookies also can store data offline. But problem is, so that is the issue with the cookies. JSON and cookies. So both are objects only. So what is the intention of JSON is transporting data across requests. And JSON is best in doing that. So that is what actually JavaScript object notation is. So you should have a clarity on what is JSON and what is POJO like mechanisms. These play the key role in handling various interactions, right? Various interactions. Yeah. Next important after understanding, so the mechanism of what is technically POJO and JSON. Now you need to know another point is, in real world development process, we have array of objects. Data is handled with array of objects. Even one object also. Yes, of course. That is why firewall is by default blocking cookie. That is why your browser is asking allow cookies or not. Understood? Right. So by default, firewalls are blocking the cookies. That is the reason they ask, do you want to allow the cookies or not, right? Yeah. Now the point is, we can have array of objects. So this is how data is maintained. This is one object, collection of objects. That means, suppose I want to maintain some products. Every product has several details. Then we create an array, and array contains collection of objects. And every object comprises of some details. Now accessing these details, using these details is very important. Managing them and working with them is very important. So how we work with this kind of data, I will show you. Later we will create one example. Now with all this knowledge, we will create one example. Observe here. Suppose we need to maintain a lot of amount of data here. Suppose you say var. So var products is equal to an array. And it is an array of objects. Just for clarity, I am giving like this. Every object will have name. So this is some name. And we have price. So this is some price. This is some price. Now similarly, so here we have name, another object. This is night casuals and some price, and we define some price. So we have another object, so that is name, and we have some shirt and some price. So important here is this is an array of objects, and you know how to access them because at every index there is an object. So that means products 0 is one object, products 1 is one object. So every object have again properties, name, price and all. Generally, suppose I want to access, so I want to access shirt price. Then how to access shirt price? Can you tell me? So document dot write. How to access the shirt price? How we can access the shirt price? Can you do shirt price? How we can access the shirt price? How we can access the shirt price? How do we write that? How we write that? First point is what is the array name? What is the array name? What is the array name? Products is the array name. Products is the array name. Okay, in that array, shirt is present at which index? Shirt is present at which index? So it is present at 2 index, 0, 1, 2. Okay. That means you are representing an object at that index. That object have a price we have to access. Understood? That means we are accessing. So we are accessing the price of that particular. Then it will get that price and it will display that price. So it is configuring. It is accessing and displaying that price. That is the shirt price. So of course, you can create an object, iterators read all of them and all. But this is basic thing. How we can access the details and configure the details. Define the details. For example, I will show you a simple point here. So for example, I will show you a simple option here. Means how we can deal with this object. Let's create a doc type HTML and head. And link relation is equal to style sheet. And href is equal to so node modules bootstrap this css bootstrap.css and body and class container fluid. And here we just designed a div, and let's put a class as card. Now here we have a div, so class as card header and text center. And here we have a heading, so ID as LBL name. We have so div, so class as card body and text center. And here we have an image and image source, image ID is img product. So width and height 200 something. And we have div class as card footer. Okay. And here we have defined a simple option like, so heading as ID as LBL price. That is the footer. So text center. Okay. Now this is the basic design we have. The basic design we have here. So that means the product related card here is defined. And the important, so here in this design, now we are creating simply, suppose in the footer, bottom, I will put a break, and here I will put input type is equal to a range, and here I am defining the ID as slider. Slider is an ID, and here it is having the options like, so min is equal to 0 something. Okay, and we can have a class for this as input control. So class as form control, form control range. That is the class for input type range. You can see a slider will come here. If I don't apply this class, then generally that will be simple size normal. Okay, and value also 0. That means you have this slider here. Now the point is, so I have some collection of images, means products. Let's create a script. We are declaring an array called products. It is an array of objects. It have name, so JBL speaker, and a price, some price, and the photo. Photo is nothing but path dot slash images slash. So we have some speaker dot jpg. That is only the path. Now photo has path, so of that particular image. Now similarly name, some earpods, so then price, and we have some price, and photo, and the photo dot slash images slash earpods dot jpg. The same thing I need to handle for some products details we need to configure. Suppose we are defining some here night casuals, and here I defined some shirt and some price here defined, and here images are changed, some shoe and shirt jpg. Okay, now this is the collection of products. It's a collection of objects. Now we need to create a function. Show product. This show product function is expecting index number. So when we pass the index number, it has to get that index number product and display those details in a document dot get element by ID LBL name dot value is equal to, that means heading. There I want to display products is an array of index dot name. Its name must be accessed. Currently index is unknown. Its name must be accessed. Document get element by ID LBL price dot value is equal to products of index dot price, and document get element by ID, so img product dot src. It is a photo. It has to get from products of index dot photo. It is having path. It should get that path and display. This is show product. Now initially nothing is working here. What we do is body onload. Onload means body load. When body loads, we will write a function body load. On body load, we will call show product function and pass index 0. That means into this function 0 is passed. That means index is 0. That means first it will get all first product related details and it will display. It will display that. We need to display here price is being displayed correctly because LBL name, LBL price are not values because they are not, they are just headings. Then we use inner HTML. If they are text boxes or something, then we can use value. They are just headings, then inner HTML. You can see the detail will come. Now, very important, when I am moving this slider, we, we will initially set that slider. So max is equal to 3. So min is equal to 1, max equal to 3. When I am moving this slider, right, we are moving the slider. That means we should write an event for this slider. That means slider have event on change. That means when value is changed, change image function should be called. Okay. Then we will, or you can do, initially directly first function, change image function. This will be called when they are changing the slider. Get slider value. That means a value. How to get slider value? Document get element by ID. So slider dot value. Okay. This value should be sent to show product dot slider value. That means index value will be slider value. Whatever the value you are collecting from this slider, input type range, it is slider. That value will be passed into this show product. That means what will happen now is when I move this slider to the second one, the second product details will come. Third product details will come. So here image, second image spelling or something may be wrong, or earpods is not there. So photo may be missing. Then I will just keep this images, and we have speaker and all this, but I think earpods is not there. Then I will just use another option here. So suppose here I will keep as Lee boots. Okay. And here I define that shoe1.jpg. So yeah, what images are there? I'm using them. Okay, now I move this slider, then the second image will come. And I move the slider, then the next image will come. This will get that another image. And the previous, it will get the previous image and it will display that previous image. That means when you are moving the slider, the details will be displayed there, and you are collecting all these details from an JSON type data. So we are maintaining the data in a JSON form. We are accessing the data and we are using the data here, configuring and using the data here. Now this is a simple logic to understand how we can access and manage the data. That is JSON type data, especially how we can work with the JSON type data. Means this is an array of objects. Now additionally, how to add new elements into it dynamically, how to remove elements from it, how to manage this collection dynamically. That is important. So we can, because it is an array, we can easily manage. Suppose this number, when you are printing that price, see this is price. I can just, you can print anyway, just I am adding ampersand hash 8377 semicolon plus that. Then it will print that price in this currency format, right? It will display those values. Now, when you are changing the slider, it is changing that and displaying. Remember, all three details are accessed from one object, and all the objects are accessed from one collection. So this is how in real world we generally maintain the data and handle the data and configure the data. That's general interacting with the data. Now how we can add, update, delete or modify the data, whatever it is there. For that we need to learn so many techniques to deal with this complex data. We will create one shopping cart like example. and we will see how we can dynamically filter or sort or add or remove the values and manage them. That's very important to understand. That we'll see next session, right? Tomorrow we will see, right? Tomorrow we will see one example on this data. That means tomorrow entire session will be working on one example with this array type of data, JSON type of data. We will see how do we handle them. Then we will get a clarity on that and we can go into other options. Okay.